How's it going, guys? It is Blake here from theavidentries.com, or I guess now the phantompages.com, and today I'm continuing Shadows Before Dawn. I know it has been quite a while once again, but we're going to jump right back into it since we have such a small amount of the book left. This is going to be tool number 23 today. If you missed tool number 22, which was letting yourself off the hook of perfection, a very good chapter, if I do say so myself. Make sure to check out that video before watching this one, as that was the previous chapter. So here we go. Today we're going to be doing tool number 23, which is entitled Embracing Mistakes. First section, no room for judgments. It's never pleasant to make a mistake, but we don't have to keep beating ourselves up endlessly the way many of us do. A mistake is basically any action that, upon reflection, we wish we had done differently. Mistakes and regret therefore go hand in hand, but they are not the end of the world. When we look at it, having made a mistake is usually the result of one or more of the following things: the failure to reach a goal, procrastination, impatience, overindulgence, emotional outburst, misjudgments, misinterpretations, wasted effort, missed opportunities, absent-mindedness, forgetfulness, or doing something that is out of line with one's own integrity. It sounds like a long list, but I think anyone can identify with times when one or more of these things contributed to a mistake in his or her life. What we need to realize is that at the time that we make a mistake, we are convinced that we are in fact making the best decision. We are doing what makes sense and what seems reasonable to us at the time. We always choose the action that seems most likely to meet our needs in any given moment, in a given moment. It is only upon reflection that when we see that our decision may have not been the best one. This is why saying that something is a mistake is only something that we can do in retrospect. We also make decisions based on our level of awareness. Since our level of awareness is subject to change, we can say that something is a mistake only after our awareness changes. Since we acted the best way we knew at the time, we should not focus on things in terms of right or wrong. Instead, we should think of things in terms of beneficial or detrimental. We gain increased awareness about what is actually beneficial or what is detrimental by making mistakes in the first place. Given these realities, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to let mistakes be the criteria for a decrease in our own self-worth. That is literally expecting ourselves to see what we did not see, what we did not know, and what we did not know we could do at the time. Give me 1 second. I have to fix something here. Okay, sorry about that. Where did I leave off? That we could not do at the time. If we judge ourselves and our worth based on that kind of retrospection, what we are doing is judging our past selves based on today's expanded perspective. Talk about unfair. How fair is it to expect yourself to know what you did not know at the time? Would you do that to a child? A child doesn't know that he will fall if he doesn't look where he is going. In fact, the way that he learns that he will fall if he doesn't look where he is going is by not looking where he is going and then falling. The only reason that you know the child will fall is because of your perspective, but that perspective doesn't belong to the child. So if you judge the child for falling, you are making a judgment based on your perspective, which is highly unfair and highly unloving. The you who made that mistake is a past you. Even if you register something as a mistake 1 second after you do it, it is important to know that you were a different person 1 second ago than you are right now. Don't judge the past you based on the perspective that the current you now holds. Instead of judging our past selves based on the mistakes they made, we can feel gratitude for them. The gift of their mistakes is our current wisdom. Next section. What's your motivation? By now you could probably imagine that my old friend Self-Hate loves to use the argument, but I knew better than to do that. We see this argument as a valid reason for why we should feel terrible about ourselves when it comes to mistakes. If you're beating yourself up for mistakes and basing it on this perspective, it is time to understand motivation. Motivation is the direct result of a perceived need or desire. Often we are caught between opposing needs. For example, we may have a desire to have a successful marriage, but in the moment we may cheat on our spouse because our desire to feel wanted and loved is stronger than our desire to have a successful marriage. When this is the case, our awareness tells us that the best decision is to cheat on our spouse because our need and desire at the time tells us so. Therefore, you can see that we might make the decision to cheat on our spouse from the perspective of our momentary, limited awareness. It may not be ultimately beneficial to us, and making the mistake may show us that the choice to cheat on our spouse is in fact detrimental, but it still doesn't change the fact that in the moment, you still did what you thought was best at the time. If you didn't think it was the best at the time, you would not have done it. We make a lot of these choices that we think are best, but that turn out to be mistakes. But the truth still remains that we make mistakes only because we are not aware that they are mistakes at the time. There is always a consequence when it comes to mistakes. The expanded awareness that one incurs when one has made a mistake is expanded awareness about the consequences of mistakes too. Accepting and learning from these consequences allows us to make better choices in the future, but at no point does making a mistake make us a bad person. At no point does it actually decrease our worth. We may have made choices from a very limited level of awareness that were unwise, ineffective, and detrimental, but our worth has nothing to do with our level of awareness. Our lovability and level of deserving also has nothing to do with our level of awareness. Next section, asking yourself why. By asking ourselves some important questions, we can increase our level of awareness when we have to make a decision. Have I ever been in the same kind of situation before? If so, what did I learn from it? What potential short-term and long-term consequences might come from either decision that I might make? Are these potential consequences worth it? What do I want to get out of either option? What desire or need am I trying to meet by making either decision? Is there an alternative that would enable me to meet my desires or needs and have fewer negative consequences? Which decision is in line with my highest good? If we evaluate our decisions according to our answers to these questions, we are making decisions from a higher perspective with an increased level of awareness. It may not prevent consequences from happening, but it at least enables us to consciously and deliberately make the choice that we feel is best in the moment. Next section, processing mistakes in a positive way. Think of a mistake that you might have made in the past. Close your eyes and mentally go back in time to relive that mistake that you made. Try to remember the way you felt, the thoughts you were thinking, and what you were hoping for, and ask yourself this question. If I were to go back to that time not knowing what I know now, but instead knowing only what I knew then, with the same needs, desires, perspectives, and lack of awareness of the consequences, would I have done something differently, or would I have done the same thing? This is a way to help you realize that you were in fact doing what you thought was the best thing to do at the time. If you are to let yourself off the hook for past mistakes, the key to loving yourself, even when you make a mistake, is to change your perspective about the mistake. In other words, to reframe the mistake. To reframe a mistake, we must change our point of view and therefore our interpretation of the mistake. It's within our power to consciously and deliberately reframe our opinion relative to anything. This reframing is key to letting go of the thoughts that are not serving our highest good. In order to reframe a mistake, we have to look for the value hidden in the mistake, and then find thoughts that enable us to let go of the self-blame, self-criticism, and self-condemnation that we feel for having made the mistake. In other words, we have to metaphorically look through the bathwater for the baby, save the baby, and then throw out the bathwater. When you have made a mistake, the following questions will help you reframe that mistake. What valuable thing did this experience teach me that I would not have otherwise known about myself, another person, or the world? What did this experience cause me to know that I want? What am I going to do differently in the future? How will this mistake help me to live a better life in the future? Is there anything I can do to make reparations for the mistake I have made? If so, what are they? How can I move forward from here? When you are done answering these questions, make a list of all the positive aspects of having made the mistake that you made. Next section, better choices for the future. Some people worry that embracing their mistakes is like condoning the pain that they cause to themselves or to others. Others think that embracing their mistakes might cause them to make the same mistakes again, but neither of those things is true. Embracing a mistake is just going to enable you to stop using that mistake as an excuse to hate yourself. Think about it. Beating yourself up for the mistakes accomplishes nothing. All the condemnation and recrimination in the world won't make those mistakes go away. It does absolutely no good at all. But when you can let yourself off the hook for the mistakes you've made, it becomes 10 times easier to move forward. Make reparations and make different choices. It enables you to create a better life for yourself based on what you have learned from the mistake. There is no right or wrong way to reframe a mistake. Just remember that when you are reframing a mistake, you are looking to give the mistake a positive meaning instead of a negative one. So indeed, every mistake tells you what you need to correct, and therefore brings you closer to the likelihood of success. I have found that you can even apply this same principle to self-hate. You would have no desire or inspiration to know what self-love is if you never knew self-hate. So the self-hate you may now be experiencing is every bit as responsible for the self-love you will one day experience as a result of the skills that you are learning in order to develop that self-love. Another universal system at work. And that is the end of tool number 3, embracing mistakes. A very interesting one. Another one that sort of teaches you not to be so hard on yourself, when you feel like you've messed up or, maybe made a choice that you sort of look back on now and feel like wasn't the optimal decision. All in all, we can't really punish ourselves too heavily on these sort of things. I definitely feel like mistakes in general are just a really good way for us to grow, as long as we're looking back on these sort of things. I know it's really hard to not get caught up in past mistakes. It's like a huge issue I have myself personally. I cannot even count on my hands like the number of times the number of things that I just regret over and over and over again, but like haven't really grown from as far as mistakes of the past. But yeah, definitely another good one. I would probably point out a couple more things from the section, but it is late, so I've got to wrap this one up pretty quickly. We'll be doing tool number 24 pretty soon. I'm going to try and get that one out before Christmas. It is a very short tool, but I think there's only 2 or 1 more after that. So we're pretty much at the end. Once again, sorry for the delays, but hopefully you guys are still checking these out every now and then, and the remaining parts will be up very soon. So thanks for watching, and take care. Catch you in the next one.